Hi, I am Aurelia Bruce. We are here with Soca or Die. Of course, we are missing one of our panelists, Kareem Gibbs, and he will be with us in the next episode. But of course, we have everyone and Peter, so they will introduce themselves.
So, hi everybody, I'm Evo, and it is always a pleasure to be a part of this program. I enjoy doing it every year. We are into season 2. I'm looking forward to season 3. I hope our audience can continue to grow, and I hope that these discussions have provided at least some platform for or inspiration for your own discussions, and that they can continue well beyond this series. I know I usually joke around a lot, but I wanted to take a minute to just be genuine for a second and say that we do this, one, because we really love soca. I really love soca music and our culture. And two, because any type of discussion on any platform in any space can only contribute to the development of these art forms and these things that we all hold dear.
Definitely.
And I'm Peter Christopher, a journalist who is always down for a soca discussion, really loves soca music. And this has been a very, very fruitful podcast. And all these episodes, we've been doing amazing stuff, sharing these ideas and pushing the word of soca further.
Peter, let me ask you, because again, and I won't speak for Evo, but I think definitely when, we think of our household, it was very much grounded in music. Like there was always music of all kinds. I mean, we know the whole Celine Dion 1990 whatever album.
Phase.
Right?
Yeah, that whole phase when
David Rudder, Uju Banton, this one, Junior Gong, like just a mix of Swamp
halfway
Dog,
through
right?
that, he was addicted to that album. And then the time when he went to Jamaica for a few months and came back with the log on rhythm on a CD, and he was like, "Guys, come and learn this dance. Everybody in Jamaica is doing this. This is how you do the log on."
Yeah. And I mean, not just in our immediate household in terms of, with Daddy and his calypso and all the other types of music that he would have introduced us to, but also, when you think of grandparents, it was like one household was Kitchener and, and all the records, vinyl records, like both grandparents had, that stack of it. So when I say that, I mean, and not just that, but Papa, our grandfather, was very much into Christmas music. So it didn't have a parang out there. It didn't have a Christmas song that we don't know. But the point is, I think for me, that is where my love of country culture and definitely soca has come from. So how come, what is your story with soca? Like, why are you so passionate, I would say, about soca music?
Well, growing up, my mother's alarm clock would go off 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and that radio would just stay on 100, and it would be just calypso and soca. I wasn't really allowed to listen to, the dancehall music and stuff. I would only get to listen to that when my brother eventually got his own radio, and even then he was still playing a little bit of soca here and there. He had the ecstatic album Heavy Duty. My other brother bought Punchy Garland album, Ataclan's album, KMC's album, and from there I was always hearing soca music almost every day.
Yeah, definitely. And I think part of that is again, we've had several discussions on this show, and then how we preserve and retain and ensure the sustainability of our cultures if we continue to share it with our progeny, with the next generation and the next generation, and help them to love ourselves as much as much as we love it. Anyway, all that to say, the point of this episode, Soca Check-In, is that, our listeners and viewers have their own opinions. We're not the only ones who love soca and who listen to soca religiously, right?
Right.
And sometimes our opinions are, I wouldn't say controversial. I mean, I think sometimes people might disagree with our opinions. Sometimes our opinions evoke thought, because we might see things in a way that others have not. And again, we're also open to the conversation, and to get people involved in the conversation, we took some of our listeners / viewers, we took some of their comments, and we're going to talk about it now. So let's get into it. Our first one is from Duane. I call him the Fet Master because I know Duane personally. And I don't think it ever Fet Duane never went to. Like every year, like he's the one. You know when Bungie say we're rolling in all of them?
Yeah.
That is Duane Fair. So I'll take the first one from Duane, and we'll chat about it.
A virtual carnival? A virtual fete? What really is a virtual fete? I mean, to each their own, but to me it's a no-no. I like the music. I like the fete-like environment. I like to dress and go out there, mingle, socialize, dance, drink, see my artist perform, critique the artist, come home, dream about the next fete, Now, it's all about watching your artist singing to you on a laptop. It's just a no for me. Would I pay to hear them? I would not. However, if Marshall had a Monday this year, I think many people would have paid to hear him. Marshall and Kes, if they had shows this year, a virtual Marshall Monday and a virtual Tuesday on the Rocks, a full presentation, people would have paid their money to see it. Because what Kes' first virtual show, Independence Night, listen, when Kes ran out and he sang him with the I Shall Return, because it was so new to us, the virtual experience was so new, you didn't know what to do. People was in the living rooms jumping up and down, in the bedroom with a laptop, and they just hold on to the cupboard and was dancing. So I have faith that Kes and Marshall, to name a few, would have scored. Nadia Batson also had the art form last night, and that was good. And Second Star had his Sunday, and that was exceptional. Give Jack his jacket. But in general, the virtual experience, adapting to it, is just not my preference. But looking at what is happening in the world right now, the turmoil we're in, this realistically might be our new norm for some time. Yeah. So it's either you adapt or you just fantasize that one day you're going back out on the streets, one day you're going back out into a fete, and one day you will wine and jam to your favorite artist with your friends. A virtual carnival.
And so so that is Duane, like I said, and I mean, a lot to unpack there. So of course he's like, that is not his preference, and I mean, you guys kind of said that as well. I guess there's agreement there that the virtual isn't, doesn't really.
His delivery was hilarious, by the way. I just wanna
doesn't
virtual carnival.
Yeah.
No.
but the same thing too with I kind of get as well now, plus and minus there, because when he was like, people, you dress and you go, and that kind of, I don't know, is that excitement? Is that something?
Yeah.
Even though I don't,
there's an atmosphere that you get when you get into a fete, and you reach inside, and it mightn't hit you as you reach inside. It might hit you when somebody hit the stage and start to perform, and you just start to hear the live music strike up and thing, and you realize the crowd starting to move a certain way, and then you get a vibe that is just, you can only get at any party. And the thing that I've struggled with in this season, both watching the shows and just listening to the music, is just hearing the songs and wondering how would it be if I was in
In
a
the
party
live
listening to
setting.
it.
Yeah, definitely.
I think for me, one of the things that I was romancing, one of the ideas I had romanced recently, and even this morning in the car, I was thinking about it a lot more because I had heard Marshall's song on that jam band rhythm, and it made me so emotional in the car. And now every time I hear Mr. Fett as well, I feel so like there's a genuine grief in me. And but also my spirit soars. It's like somewhere in the middle, something happens. And I imagined, and so now I don't know policy wise, legally, what we can do, right? But I was romancing this creative idea that is really not my own. It's just a marriage of ideas I have seen floating around the internet, right? Where I might have, if I had been a FET promoter and had the resources, put together us like a ultra premium COVID concert party. I'd invite all the artists. I'd make a huge stage. I would do the thing that they do in concerts in the States. I would build everybody their little gazebo. And you're limited to 10 persons, so you buy a ticket, like you purchase a ticket, that ticket, a group ticket, and it entitles you to 10 people in your space. And I position a bouncer and a sanitization station, and so at the bottom of each of those tents I put it up on a little platform too, maybe of varying heights so everybody could see. But I'm also investing in some LED screens or LCD or whatever you can use outdoors, because it escapes me now, but screens as well, comfort screens, so people can see wherever you're positioned, you have a view of the stage, but also you have a view of the screen. And I'm putting speakers throughout that space, so you get that bass, because you know what that's like when you're feeling that bass coming at you. And when you're distanced too much, you might not get that. But I'm putting those speakers, where people can get some of that, in their system. And I'm making these stands, as I said, for everybody. This is your space. And I'm doing maybe like not a server, like a service. So it's an all-inclusive thing. And I'm sending servers around, maybe in little golf carts coming. So I'm using like the savannah as my space, and I'm building these things and the tents and everything. You have the screen, you have the stage, you have the screens, the bands are there, full bands, full performances. And as I say, everybody has their bouncer, because these are the 10 people on your list. This is your sanitization station. This is your little porta potty here. Hot one. This is your space. So we keep everybody in their little groups corralled and limited to the 10. But then you also get to go to that FET. And I feel like I would pay a premium price for that. I am paying high apply money for that or more.
Because so the challenge, I think, is that might be, if possible, that is a one-off something that's not at the same, because even when he was talking about, you come home from the FET and you sleep, you dream about that FET and you dream about the one to come, because it's that. And I think that part of that season and the adrenaline and the FET after FET is that is part of the niceness, so to speak. And I think as well, I think that is why a lot of these, we'll talk about it later as well. A lot of these individual events, like these sort of Napa events, like people are going. So typically, I think, I know, like I said, there are people, there are different crowds that, people have different target audiences, right? Typically, the FET where you go and you stand up and you wine whole night, that is the popular attraction, the main attraction. If somebody has a show in Napa, you might not necessarily go, right? In the height of the carnival season. But in a season like this, where we don't have that, people are grabbing to whatever is there. One thing I want to point out, though, because Duane and I perhaps was on the same wavelength, because I was saying, if anybody could do a virtual FET, is Marshall.
Yeah.
If anybody could give us a new production, a new take on it, it would be Marshall. And again, or Marshall and his team, or Marshall's team, or whoever, because I feel like they push the envelope a lot and they take risks a lot too. And so I feel like,
and then also there's that element of, like, there's 90% of the population sees Marshall Monday on our live stream anyway. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So
Marshall Monday on our live stream is not new to us, because some of us don't go because we just don't want to face the crowd, but we want to tune in to see what the production is, what happens. So,
but I'm saying,
it would not have been too foreign for us.
No, I'm saying even beyond that,
on that
Marshall
note.
Monday has because Marshall Monday also has a pay-per-view element to it. So he really has been in this virtual space, quote unquote, and not just virtual where it's free on live, but where you pay-per-view. But what I'm saying is, I think he can take it and turn it into something, not that somebody stand up in the crowd streaming it, but or that the kind of pay-per-view wholesale reproduction, but that turning it into something
of full production.
Peter, sorry, you wanted to say something.
Yeah. He mentioned, however, Nadia Baxon's art form, which was one of the few virtual events that I actually tuned into live when it was happening, and I actually did enjoy it because as much as it did have the typical fet kind of aesthetic and thing like that, she did change up a little thing. She had lyrical performance somewhere else. She had Terry Lyons up on something else. So you were getting something different. You were getting a different production value. And I think it also lent itself to social media pretty well so that people were just, this happened and we could comment on it. So we get a kind of virtual audience vibe with just the people on social media.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, because
I saw half of the concert.
Let me ask you, because I was also talking to somebody else about this. Because sometimes, again, in that virtual fet thing, you have God, I don't want to call names, but no, you have an event. It's not geared to virtual. You are having an event that you are recording, right? So again, you're just streaming it. Whereas, like in that instance that you're talking about, it's like, okay, I am gearing it toward an audience who is not here. You know what I mean? So I'm making it visually appealing. I'm doing all these things. And so is it better to do that, right? Or is it, and especially now because you have now these combination concerts where it's like Kes is doing, at the end of this week, where you have live, as in, limited tickets sold, as well as watch it online. Does it make it difficult to do that? Because you have to satisfy people who are there, but you also have to satisfy these people who are not,
It makes me wonder about the success or relative success of Soca Monarch semis in particular, because a lot of people used to go to Soca Monarch, but Soca Monarch semis was an event in itself. It was a sit down at home and look at these performances, if they are a hot mess or not, or if they're really good. And who is this new girl? Who is J Angel claiming she's the feature? These kind of things. And I actually think that the Calypso tents missed a trick this year.
Right.
You could have put on a show, as in let the artist put on a performance that people will, react to, because that's what they could do.
But this is their target audience. When I say that, and again, I'm not trying to be anyway, right? Because in the tent vibe is different from the fet vibe, and so if it's one group of cultural entertainers that could have had those live, especially those live sessions,
that type of
they could, because their tents are open nightly. You come, so it's that same thing where, again, whether you're in Queens Hall or you're in Napa, and the tent is and the people, again, you have your restrictions, your COVID restrictions, yes, but people come and they sit down and that crowd would enjoy it. Now the challenge with that, though, is, again, if the age group attending is over a certain age, and they might be more susceptible to
the disease.
So I think it's a catch-22, because this is the sit down and listen and and wave your flags or your toilet paper if you're in Skinner Park, but that crowd is your crowd. But then if they're more susceptible to the virus, then it's difficult. Let's take in another one, shall we?
Yes,
let's do it.
Yo, what's up, Soca? So Carnival 2021, really an interesting experience, and I must say I'm enjoying it as much as I can, and I'm really appreciating the effort that the sponsors, the promoters, and the artists have put forward, and seeing that investment from them has been it's really commendable what they're doing, and just keeping the culture alive this year, it's important. So it's really great of them, and I appreciate that effort to see them really put their foot forward and put their money into our culture this year. just to keep things ticking and keep things alive. What has been really impressive and what I've really enjoyed about this year is something that has been in the works for quite a few years now, where you're seeing a lot of artists do their own shows. And to me, it really lends to it adds to the quality of production that we're seeing for Carnival, as opposed to not to knock the big shows where you have 30 different artists performing in one night. But the essence of performance can sometimes get lost in that format. And seeing artists, produce their own shows where it's a proper production and there's a proper theme and everything, it's taking a step to the next level, and seeing the younger artists doing it, it really means that Soca is in safe hands. So great to see, and we know that the future of Soca is safe, and the future of Carnival is safe. As much as we like to worry about it every year, and there are articles talking about Carnival is dying, that's really not the case. But of course, certain aspects are suffering more than others, but Carnival is very much alive, and during a pandemic year, we're seeing the evidence of that. So the effort is really appreciated, and we need to support the Soca artists especially. So I'm enjoying Carnival 2021 as much as I can.
Yeah. Again, another one with a lot to unpack. Some of the things that we did speak about earlier in terms of that kind of, call it in investment, whether it's monetary or, again, time investment into keeping certain things up and running, and like Kes say, don't stop the jamming. The thing I want to touch on in this one, what stood out to me is, again, this thing about the artists doing their own shows. And I wonder, one, I agree that it could be an opportunity to give that kind of performance in a way that we haven't seen. Because again, you're in a fete, you run on stage, you sing your song. Yes, you might have a live band. In some instances, you have a live band. Some instances, they don't have a live band, but you might have a live band. You sing your song for however long your set is, and then you go. Now, I know, like, for example, in some of the fetes, and again, not to use Marshall, but to use Marshall, he might a show like a light, or when he's the one to close Revel Nation, for example, or something like that. You might see a little fog, a little something, right? But at the same time, it's not that kind of, I guess, what we would want from Soca Monarch. We don't get to see the artists put on a show.
Yes.
They come to sing and go. So I know he mentioned that, it's a good opportunity to bring out those kinds of performances, or to bring out performances, but I don't know if we're getting that really in these virtual fetes either. That's one. And the second thing is, I wondered whether or not come Carnival 2022, would these individual shows continue? Because I feel like a lot of artists are doing it now because it's a dead season, quote unquote. So, but then are they brave enough to say, what, in the height of Carnival season, I go in and put on my own show? Because we know some artists have tried and haven't done as well, and some artists are a bit timid about, doing that. So, thoughts?
I think it will be very interesting to see. I know a few of these artists who've had virtual shows.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, immediately Second Star and Urfanals come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
They have been having their own shows, limited, with the varying amount of success. I would say Second Star has benefited from his friendship with Triple E. So Second Star has become an event on the Carnival calendar that perhaps isn't immediately recognized as Second Star's show, but a fete called Second Star where he kind of headlines.
Yeah.
Right.
When it really is his show. And it's Lyrical had a show, and Lyrical has, to me, been a very consistent artist who perhaps has not been recognized for his consistency. To the point where you're not going to hear events and say, yeah, boy, we're going to fete because Lyrical going to be there. That's not the average Trinidad. But this year he has the opportunity to do his show and show well. This is what I have been doing for the last 12, 13 years, all of these hits. And that's encouraging, and it makes me wonder if it's going to push forward that kind of shift that I saw in the mid 2000s, where it went from brass bands featuring this singer to this artist and their band, which is how you decided if you're going to this fest. Hey, you gonna be showing on traffic there? Yeah, I want to see showing on traffic going this fest. You go and be Bungee and Asylum. I'll go in there for Bungee and Asylum. You know, so maybe it might be the catalyst for something new again. Hopefully.
True. I thought he raised some good points in his comments, because one thing I know from working in Calypso and Junior Calypso specifically, one of the developmental aspects of it is having those children, those younger performers, learn to perform with a band. Because performing to your track is one skill, performing and controlling a band and having stage presence and that kind of thing. And as I say, just being able to work with a band, that is part of the art form that you have to develop, and it's a back end thing, right? It's not something that the audience is always aware of. And so I think that being able to now host their own shows, as he said, and even their virtual shows, I think it only helps to develop their overall skill set as artists and as performers. And so I think he's right. They probably will be all the more strong for it. And it could only be down to the success of the art form eventually, because these people are now having the opportunity to plan a stage show of what would I like to do. What is my not just my brand but my style? Who am I on stage? What do I want to communicate?
What message? Yeah,
I like to. They get to be a lot more creative than, as you say, running on in somebody else's set. They now are creating positions for musicians for a larger group of, because whereas, as you said, Peter, before, it would have been Roy Cape's band. And then, these are the three acts that we know all perform with Roy Cape. Now we have a bunch of little maso musicians all over, are getting an opportunity now to be employed and to have work and to be a part of something and really develop their individual crafts and then their craft as a whole. And so, I think those were some excellent comments. I don't know. In talking about virtual fests, I mean, we did think about it only from the experience as a patron, but from the perspective of the artists, I could see how taking that leap and trying to put something out can really benefit you. As I said, it could be an educational learning experience for you. Definitely an opportunity, as I said, to employ some people, or at the very least add something to your resume, and that is always valuable,
Yeah. But do you think they will continue? So next year, should we expect lyrical and for example, because like I said, and like you all agree, there are those who have done it and who put their hand in the fire a long time, but there are those who are newer to it or who try in something, and maybe it's a test case, like a trying to.
But there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. No, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm asking if it will continue, because again, doing it in a year like this is a test to see okay, what's possible and to learn the ropes and whatever. But again, like, was it this episode? Maybe this episode? I was just saying, again, this year when there are no traditional go to the fete, then people are looking for that outlet. Where can I go to get live soca music? And so good test case. And is it something that will embolden them to next year
try again?
That's what I'm saying, in the midst of the carnival season, I am going to have my own show. I'm going to put that on the calendar.
I think it's dependent, I guess, on the experiences of the individual at this time, what they have now and how it works for them. And then, even somebody like, say, who's been doing it for the past 10 or 12 to 13, 14, 15 years, and it hasn't grown into Tuesday on the Rocks, which we know started very niche and has now become what it is. I think the more you do it and the more consistent you stay with doing it, like you develop better tricks and you start to know your audience, and maybe you start in the way that Irfan and Second Star had started theirs as well, where they deliberately keep it small, and they keep it to their niche, they target people, and then you try to grow, at a rate that is in keeping with realistic for your brand, realistic for your thing. You set realistic targets and smart targets, and you work to achieve bigger things incrementally. I think it could work. I think I hope
if it could work, if they would do it, would they
continue?
do it?
Yeah, when I say I hope that they continue, I hope they will continue.
Yeah. I think one thing that he also pointed out is the sponsors and promoters who continue to do this, whether the artists or the like in continuing and pushing these live shows, and I do want to commend them. I think we've seen a number of repeat sponsors, and so it is commendable that they would in this time say, you know what, I would give to I would support this venture, not just for the artist's sake, not just for but for culture's sake and for keeping it alive. So I think that.
Sorry, that reminds me of something that I noted that I thought was quite commendable as well, and I know that sometimes I like to I don't know what the word is right now, but I kind of like to call out that organization that Peter works for. But I really want to take a minute to commend them too, because I noticed that they have they have a space now that they've made available to persons. It's called the Lab, right? Am I calling it the right thing? Yeah, it's the Lab. And I thought that was very innovative of them, recognizing that there's a need from all different types of people for a space now to do things virtually. And I think they have the Lab, and we know that they are a media company, and so they have some sense of what they're doing, and so they're making it very easy, I think, for people to come to them and say, I'd like to host something, and then we can draw on your experience and that kind of thing. So I want to commend them for that as well, because I feel like they've provided a one-stop shop kind of thing. If I'm understanding the design of the thing, the model of the thing properly, they've kind of created a one-stop shop. So you come into our space and you have the cameras, you have the, and then it makes it a little easier to go virtual.
Yeah.
Now, so, kudos.
At least.
Labs.
Yes.
Yeah, it only took a whole season, right? Joking.
I'm hardest on the things that I like. I'm hard because I think that they are better than they allow themselves to be.
Anything on this this last comment before we move to the next one, Peter? Anything else?
No. I think we've covered it sufficiently at this point.
So now I am going to share a snippet of an interview that we had done. Hopefully I can share audio, and hopefully you can see my screen. Yes, you can. And so, yeah.
I definitely think that, and as you have seen this.
I think I had the thing to think. This is an interview we had done with Farrell, and so I'm just playing a snippet of that now.
Yeah, the No Carnival season has done something so interesting to the way we enjoy soca and the way that I think it's being produced, or the type of soca that's being put out. And usually, this is really interesting to me because this is something that I've been doing research on. People look at soca almost as the bastardized version of calypso. So they take the traditional thing, and nowadays only talk about whining and jamming, and there's no substance to it. And same thing with carnival. But when you really look in calypso, there is a category of smut and humor. There's a category of all the double entendre, all the rock back and everything. It's not something new. It's not like to say these developments where there's a heavy focus on the sexual or the sensual and the movement, or I guess flippant things like horning and things like that. It's not like to say that is something that has now been brought into the music. All of these are parts of life. That the musician, being the voice of the people, is going to give voice to these different things. And in the same way that calypso, stemming from the history of the griot, being the voice of the underclass then. And the masquerader, once, putting these things into performance as well. There are multiple things that can be performed, multiple things about human life. And it doesn't always have to be about politics, and it can also be about politics. If you look at like Ultimate Rejects with Full Extreme, right? The satire in the Wine and Jam, it's there. It's most definitely there, and it really irritates me when people paint a one-sided picture of calypso or of soca as a genre that only talks about one particular thing. There's a lot of room, and there, as with the examples that Peter was given, a lot of people are taking up that opportunity and doing a fantastic job. And talking about more than the wine and jam, but not everyday politics, not everyday religion, sometimes wine and jam. But I think, most definitely soca is living up to that potential to speak about social commentary. Whether it's always taken on by the audience as strongly as we would want it to be, that's a different discussion. What the people want to hear, or what they make us feel that the people want to hear, what gets the airplay more than other things, But I would definitely say that the room and the potential, and it's all happening there.
Yeah, which would have been my follow-up question. And I mean, we spoke about it a little bit in season 1 as well, and I wish Kareem was here so I could mention KMC, Mr. Speaker in particular, because I think that was well done in terms of that particular song and KMC's contribution there. Okay, so again, a snippet of this conversation that we had, and the discussion sort of centered around social commentary. Is soca living up to that social commentary need? And now, Peter, you had some examples then, if you can reshare it here, because you had also agreed that, yes, it is still maintaining that what I would call a responsibility or a duty to reflect, life in Trinidad and Tobago as it is.
Yeah, well, the example I'd given then was Second Star, Dubai.
Yes.
Also talking about Viking Ding Dong. As much as the song is fun and fierce, it was referring to the whole Susu money, Susu hand. Of course, Bungie Garland has done that time and again. In both, if you really think about Hearted People, and even in All Houses Road, it is referring to the fact that we're in a pandemic and you have to, operate a certain way.
Yeah, even because I mean, we felt to say, social commentary, Garland, or that's how I call it, because he always has that air to it. Even when he was singing the song, when he was saying, people don't really care on Carnival Monday and Tuesday. People don't really care. All they want to hear with the rum and the was put your hands in the air. But then that came after a whole discussion, about again, music and the carnival and his experience and that kind of thing. So he always, and then there was another example to Kes in even something like Don't Stop the Jamming. Again, we in this, but we, or even other songs, because it is that kind of nation building where you feel good, like you say, this is for the love of the music. That's the example that I've given, because you feel like,
I'm not sure if this is the same example in terms of social commentary per se, but the way how the music has come out this year, Valentine's Day is Carnival Sunday, and there was a Soca love mix that was posted on YouTube, and I said I'll check it out. I was half expecting it to be a collection of all the different lovey-dovey soccas go back now. And when I started listening to it, it was a lot of this year's music about people talking about, how they want to hold on to or what kind of love they're looking for and thing. And I was like, there is a lot of, relationship themed soca music this year, and it was very refreshing to hear that.
Yeah, but I think there is I think relationships are a constant theme throughout the year. Like you say, if you were to pull together all of those songs, and I mean, yes, we have now, like you say, in this year, and especially with the pandemic context and what that does, or the things that brings to relationships. But I think over the years, I mean, like you were just saying, Patrice and Zan, and all those. Over the years, we have a wealth, a plethora of I mean, is good relationship bad relationship, right? Or the relationship you want to be in, or that is not a man. You don't have a man, you have a manager. All kind of.
The relationship songs are always there. Overdue was Joel and my first dance at our wedding. We danced to Overdue. If it was not COVID, we probably would have tried to hire Irfan to sing it for us.
Yeah.
No, I understand that, and I know that there have been so many over the years. It was just that there were so many in this season. They were able to just put it in a mix one time, and I was like, okay, that.
You have to send me a link. I wanna.
You're kind of watching around, like, okay, so people having relationship problems out there, because what they say, when they say, like you said, because there's so many this year, then it's something that is on the mind of people this year, which means that
we all trapped in the house, we all bored in the house.
What's happening?
So we're gonna find somebody to love upon, and you're stuck inside.
And then, of course, Ken Marlon Charles. Mr. Sweet.
Right. That was an excellent example. I was so glad you mentioned it there because that was one of the first ones that came to mind, and he sang it in a real jump and wave kind of way.
Rag raising, higher than Marag, yeah.
And he was talking about it. He was talking about the things that needed to be discussed. So yeah, I don't think Soca has ever dropped the ball on that. I think there are some people who can always be relied on. Bunji Garlin is one of them. Every year you can rely on him to shine a light on or reflection of something that's taking place in society, even if he just gives you like a one line. But usually he will devote entire verses or an entire song to that kind of thing. I think that people don't give Soca enough credit for being a reflection of our society, for sure. Because even in songs like, as I said, that Marshall song that made me emotional this morning, that is a song that really does not talk about whining or jamming in the way, in an instructive way, in a way that tells you to go and whine. It talks about who we are and the things that we like, and one of the lines that I mean, the hook is we getting on bad, but that is who we are. We know that we coming out for carnival to get on bad, again emotional again thinking about it because you hear these songs and there's something about the lyrics that you really connect with, and even in the fete and thing, those are the kinds of songs that's really sending, and it's just be in the crowd kind of swaying and listening to it today in the car in the context of no carnival. And hearing that song saying, have a time, because carnival belong to we, and nobody could take it, it's the greatest. And that made me equally sad and happy. It made me equally sad and happy because I was like, Marshall, but somebody did take it.
But then
it could never really take it away because carnival is you, carnival is me, carnival is inside of all of us.
Same thing for the cast this year. Like I said, I cried. I was in tears. Like when I heard it the first time, I am not ashamed to say. In the context of everything, I did like a cry, like not just like shed it, like a cry. It wasn't a ball cry. A ball cry. This thing, Nadia sent me All Stars playing. They were playing Firestorm. Right? But they are doing like a series of posts of previous panoramas.
Yes. I've followed them. This is Massey Trinidad All Stars.
Yes. It's only one. There's only one. Only one. And so
the orchestra on the island.
For some reason, she sent me that one. And again, something about like I was like, okay, like tears, like my heart is broken, like
that you're not gonna have that people are not going to have that experience this year.
Let me just point out here as well, because I came across recently something I was having a debate about Bunji with somebody else, right? But not the point. And I came across right now. Bunji's right now. I shall not fabricate, neither falsify. How Trinidad get, man, I shall not lie. Brethren losing friends, parents losing child. And I mean, again, 2000 and something, but still
2005.
2005, he says.
Somewhere around there. But very much relevant very much applicable today, very much, you know, right now, and you could dance and you could think, but again, the message and the music. And one of the discussions we were having, Peter, if you remember in that session too, was, you know, I was saying the downtime also allows us to, because we were talking before about how artists are able to experiment now. Of course, with the pandemic being all pervasive, it has been sort of, you know, it entered into the music, obviously, social kind of commentary, but it also allows the listener now to sit down and take in the music in a different way, because it's not just in the fet on the loudspeaker,
Right.
you know, whining and jamming.
You can internalize the lyrics more.
You're
And
listening.
reflect on them.
Anyway, not the point. We have another one. No, I tell you, like literally, that was my status the other day. Literally, me every 5 minutes, I am sure that are fed up. They want to know
Puppets.
the admin.
Who is the admin?
Yeah, let's get into
mad.
yeah, let's get into another one, because I know we're running low on time. You know, we might have to do make this a regular segment. Who knows? Okay, next one.
Okay, so I wanted to express a view before I forget. You all were talking about the Soca Monarch and the Soca Monarch being how they call it, ambassador for Trinidad and Tobago. If you know, when you win the Soca Monarch, but remember it's international Soca Monarch, and sometimes you have people from other countries that win it. So then, what happens when another person from another Caribbean island win it? Who would they be representative of as the Soca Monarch? Would they be representing Trinidad and Tobago, or would they be representing their particular country?
Yes.
Okay, that's a good question.
Got early o'clock, and it was on again. If you have been listening, we on our first episode, episode 1 of season 2 on 2020 Soca, and we were talking about the International Soca Monarch competition, ways to revamp it, revive it, make it mean something, right? And so, yeah.
Well, so I think I was the person that suggested the ambassador thing. So I'll take a stab at it first. That was a really good question. It did cause me to think as I was listening to it there. I will say though, I kind of feel like it should be an ambassador for Trinidad still. Even though you are not Trinidadian, I think that, and even though our competition is entitled the International Soca Monarch Competition, and we've opened it up to anyone from anywhere, but it's supposed to be one of those flagship events for our carnival. We don't host that competition in anybody else's carnival. It's not like at Robes, and some years it takes place during crop over, and some years no. It is a product of Trinidad and Tobago Carnival. And so I feel as though even if you are not from Trinidad and Tobago and you've won the International Soca Monarch competition in Trinidad and Tobago, because Trinidad and Tobago is the authority on soca music, is the authority on carnival. You know, this is our indigenous product, even though it has, you know, reaches throughout the diaspora, and it, you know, everybody has their version of our thing. This is Mecca. And so if you've come from somewhere else and you've won our title, then you are the best that soca has to offer this year. And as the home of soca, then we will endorse you and you will be our ambassador for our music and our island and our festival for the year. That's my...
Yeah, I think that would work in a perfect world. I don't think that will work, right? Now, I think it might be an even simpler solution where in that, and let me, before I go into that, let me also say, because she also referenced by way of text, she was saying that, you know, initially it was Soca Monarch, so it was local, may have been local, and then eventually it turned into what is now international, whatever else. So to me, the fix is that much easier, because we also have been having, you know, in different circles, the debate about International Soca Monarch, and if you have an International Soca Monarch, who is the national monarch? Now, it's easy to answer that, because if Marshall win, Marshall's the International Soca Monarch, he is the Soca Monarch of Trinidad and Tobago.
Right.
If Biggie Irie wins, you know, Groovy Soca Monarch, it is easy. He is the International Soca Monarch, International Groovy Soca Monarch, right? But then Groovy Soca Monarch of Trinidad and Tobago, right? And so I think the easy fix is, because like I said, in a perfect world that will work well. I think you can, it would be easy for somebody else to be an ambassador of soca music. So I get what you're saying. but
Right.
it is difficult for them to be to go the extent
of promoting Trinidad
Tobago.
or Trinidad Carnival.
I think answering that question of so who is the national soca monarch will fix that. So if we say in automatic, the instead of you need not have two competitions because efficiency, but if you're telling me the highest ranked national is the national soca monarch, so if you come second, or let's say two international acts beat you and you come third, whatever, then whoever is the highest.
Or you come fifth, but you are the best that Trinidad had to offer.
Well, it has, but you see, this goes back to what does soca monarch mean? And if we are not putting our best, because again, people might take certain make certain assumptions or take certain liberties or feel a certain way because they figure, yeah, it's normal for this body or that body or this body should be there, but are they really doing the judging in a fair and thing way? And when we put people in the finals, like this is the best that Trinidad and not no soca politics and all that. Is this the best that Trinidad and Tobago has to offer? Are we taking the competition seriously, right? And not just par for the course. And so if you come second place, then you have to be the best that Trinidad and Tobago have to offer. Before I open it up to you guys, let me just also point out, Preedy is in a Soca Monarch finals. Finally, right? I don't know where EA where he no, let me tell you, for a couple of years it's been difficult for Preedy and Irfan to make it to a finals. Let's talk about that.
Preedy didn't do lost and found in the finals.
I think he's been in a few finals. He's let me down a couple of times. I've had him as a dark horse a couple of times.
Right. But
ours is a different argument though. I think there have been some Irfan Al's songs that really didn't get the love. I definitely, Overdue got love. But he had a song he had Pick a Side last year with Kes. And I don't think that got enough love.
No.
But not just, I'm not talking about love, I'm talking about you perform, you make it to semi, you cannot make it to final, or you perform in the prelims, and because I'll be very honest, like I don't watch the prelims. If I watch in semis, it's because that's what's on TV or something like that. But when you see the list, you see, oh, these are this is the semi-final list. By the time you see the finals list, it's like, but wait, where is Irfan? And I think there was one year in particular, oh gosh, I'll have to get that and come back to the next episode, because there was outrage like on social media, like, how you mean Irfan not in the finals, So that's a different story.
I think we need to check that. I'm not sure that they've been that absent that much. I think they've been around.
I feel like I've seen Preedy for sure.
No, you are making
In fact,
Preedy has been in a finals. I'll put my head on one finals, but he has not been a regular feature in a finals. No.
Okay, I don't want to touch it.
Neither. Tell me in the comments. I'm telling you, because I remember that year in particular. I can't remember if it was Overdue year or the year before that. I remember the social media commentary, because we would, oh gosh, that's the next story. Because we were going down the list of people were talking about how many young or new soca was in it, and then I was saying, but don't count out Sherwin. But bottom line is, we had this discussion on social media. I know we did, and there was a bit of for fans, right? I wouldn't say the artists, because I don't know how they were feeling, but for the fans, there was a bit of a,
right.
And again, is it that we're giving people places just because we think that they ought to be there, or was it a fair judging? Is it that he really just didn't perform in the semi? That kind of thing. But is this the best that Trinidad and Tobago has to offer when we put the finals list together? But anyway,
Peter, respond to the comments.
Yes, so Soca Monarch being an international this is part of responding to that comment, because if we're talking about Soca Monarch being an international competition and us not having a national monarch, then how do we get a national monarch? Who do we identify?
Yes, but I think the national monarch has a very obvious there's a road march. So that I think that contributes a lot, as well as also something that you need to consider. And invariably, people, there's usually a Trinidadian that is usually right up there in Soca Monarch, regardless. But
But is
in
that
terms
because
of the ambassador for Soca Monarch, it would have to be an ambassador for soca music. Because if you just say Trinidad and Tobago, you know, you kind of taking away the international out of it.
Right.
But if you keep it as an ambassador for soca music, or
And
by
Soca
extension,
Festival.
Trinidad and Tobago Carnival, because that is
Right.
the biggest carnival, where Soca Monarch is
That's what I'm
held
saying.
and celebrated, then I can see it tying into that.
right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so a range of options there to address that issue, and even in terms of this year they are having a Soca Monarch. It's not an international Soca Monarch, so it's just a point to note. So we will have a, if you want to
The
call it, the
Monarch.
National Soca Monarch. Sorry,
The Monarch. Is it Soca
right?
Monarch? It's
It's
just
the Monarch. Just
the
the
Monarch.
Monarch.
Not the Soca.
It's
I
not
thought-
Soca. It's the
Okay.
Monarch.
Oh, well, excuse me. I thought the last thing I saw was the Soca Monarch. Okay.
No, it's the Monarch.
What were they doing there? Because I mean, because I'm saying, okay, so what's the issue with just calling it the Soca Monarch? You know what I mean? Like, why you gotta take the Soca out of it? Like, what's the?
Because I think they intend to take the soca, the stipulation that it's only soca out of it. I think it's just a wide open field. So it's groovy. It's oh, why does the word escape me? Power. It's calypso. It's. But let's move on. Are there any more comments?
No, well, I think that's something too. There's one last one, but I think that's something that we can deal with and move on. But if it's to open the category, because the finalists are all soca artists anyway, so you're kind of back to a Soca Monarch. Not telling you.
No, I'm just saying I can't speak for why.
Okay.
I think that might have been the intention. Those were the rumors, but if nothing materialized, you know what I mean? If nothing came of it, if nobody really entered or placed well from a different type of genre, I don't know.
A mess. So let's play the last one and get no. I mean, that's what anyway. And then the last one.
In this downtime, we have to focus on our product, Trinidad Carnival. However, the difficulty is that the virtual experience does not cater to all your senses. It is just basically you in the comfort of your house, socially distanced with your 2 or 3 friends or whoever, and you're watching this artist on a stage singing to you. Now, how do we share that with the world? How do we monetize from that? How do we look at longevity in this virtual experience? Now, it would become very difficult because an artist just does not wake up one day and decide they want to sing a song and just bam, you hear it on the radio. It does not work like that. Producing a song is costly. Now we have to wonder if this continues, would we see a decrease in the amount of music being released? You could say yes, because let's look at other genres. The music is not being released as often as before because there are no shows for these artists to get back their investment, a return on their investment. However, what we could also look at is a cultural component of our carnival, which makes us so unique. You see, people don't realize that, a lot of tourists don't realize that Trinidad Carnival is just not only a 7-day period of fete. We have a full 2 solid months where we have numerous cultural shows. We have Pan, we have Kings and Queens, we have the Tents, we have the Monarchs, we have Calypso. We have so many components to our art form that we could package in a virtual platform and promote. Like I'm seeing Soca Monarch going virtual now, and that is a good idea. I applaud them for that. Soca Monarch should have always been virtual, if you ask me, my opinion on it. But Panorama, we should have still had a Panorama semis, a Panorama finals, review how we judge things, review the process. Put let the bands come on the stage. I don't know how. This is where innovation, this is where creative minds come together and put things in place, make a plan, a strategic plan become a reality. We could have had a Kings and Queens show. Picture how nice it would have been to have a virtual King and Queen show. I compliment Lost Tribe. I saw they have a presentation that they are having. I believe it's a Saturday, what's supposed to be Carnival Saturday. So I look forward to that. So it is not that we lack the ability. I believe one of our main issues in transforming and developing this virtual platform as it should be and marketing it at its best, the problem is the decision makers and the ones who are leading, because our industry is filled with creatives that can transform, that can innovate and put us there and target markets, target countries that people wouldn't have dreamed to know Trinidad is so talented. So there's so much work for us to do still, but we are progressing. We are making baby steps. We are making baby steps. And that's a good sign.
Yeah, so again, another very loaded one, especially because again we spoke to this issue about again, I mean, quite aptly put, decision makers and how are they taking on those new creatives, this abundance of creativity and innovation, and how are they planning? Because I think that's one of the things we discussed as well. We knew since last year around September that there would be no carnival in the traditional sense. How were we, or how have they been planning for it, and how have they been taking on new ideas from various quarters? So I'll stop there and let you guys chime in on things that stood out from that one. I mean, like I said, cultural components, Kings and Queens, Panorama, take time to review the judging and review the processes that we use for these different, whether it is competitions, whether it is for bands, route, a sort of reflective period,
Yeah.
Comment.
For me, that was, I think, of the things that he said, and he said a lot. So it's a lot. It's hard to hold on to any one thing. And he said a lot. He said it kind of slow too, so he lost me a few times. But that did, I remember that comment, and it did stand out for me. I think that is a really valuable. That would have been a valuable exploit. Let's take the time. Let's try to plan for the changes, because it's a thing that happens in work, and my boss said it best, right? She said, like, as you start to move up into management, and so one of the problems you have is you get so bogged down with the day-to-day. So in a season when we have a lot going on and we have a season, you are busying yourself with the day-to-day running of things, and so it's hard sometimes to inspect what you expect. And you have downtime now. And so she was talking to us from that perspective, because of course my team now, many of us are now moving into lower management and that level, and starting to find our legs in managing and leading. And so she was saying that don't feel guilty when you only find the time to reflect on your work and inspect things and plan in your downtime. Because that's what happens. Because you have literal things to check off, and the day-to-day is so dynamic that it moves and it changes. It's just that a living thing. in your downtime is when you really find yourself, sometimes you're on vacation, and that's where your best ideas come from. All of a sudden, you're ready to take on a fresh new perspective on a process that would make it easier to do something that takes place in your day-to-day, or to write policy, or to change a workflow, or to, you know, and that comes in
new concept,
come up with a whole new concept, write a new plan. You know, innovation often will happen sometimes in your downtime, and you could sometimes feel like you're not doing enough as a leader, or a manager, or a creator. When that happens, you kind of feel some guilt, because it's like, why am I not doing this in the day-to-day? I'm not finding the time. But that's also just the nature of leadership. So that now that we do have this downtime, you could use it constructively. Don't feel the guilt that the ideas are coming to you now. Actually set aside this time to find those ideas, to really put your brain on. It's a phrase I use a lot. I don't know where I got it from, but put my brain, literally. That's how I feel when I think and innovate and create. I literally like feel like sometimes I take my brain out of my head, I rest it in the space, and I say, okay, brain, do your stuff. You know, what can we come up with to change the way this is done? What has been working? What has not been working? Maybe we can do some focus groups during this time and start to really turn the tide. It takes big ships take miles to turn, and you had miles. You know, you had many months to sit down and start to chart a course to turn this ship.
Peter, your thoughts on some of those things that we heard?
He spoke very early on about the relative drop in the production of music. It was something that the artists were talking about, that they didn't know if it made sense to put their music out. But we have seen a lot of music still being released, and we've also seen a lot of artists experimenting. As I mentioned earlier, there's a lot more relationship themed music. There's a lot more different topics being addressed in the music that I've seen released this year. And I think that's positive. And I think it's also forced artists in Trinidad or in the Caribbean to also get some of their stuff together with regard to online streaming and making sure they're up on iTunes and making sure their stuff is available for purchase internationally, because that's where they have to get their revenue now. But the concern about shows, because that is also an international concern, is that is still where the vast majority of music, artists make their money from. But I see the negative and I see the positive at the same time in that regard. I'm hopeful that whatever said, that because we've had to put together these shows, that perhaps people are learning the lessons and probably realizing, we need to do this differently, and we're taking the lessons out of this period, the brainstorming properly as to how to move forward. And that's really all I can hope for at this time, that we can't operate normally, that we probably do get the chance to probably think about it and see how we could probably maximize it and make it better in the future.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the things that and you know, to your point as well, in terms of the artists themselves doing that reflection, and okay, how can I improve my brand, and how can I, you know, improve my work and improve what I do. But I think one of the things that stood out to me as well is this thing about the different cultural components. And I mean, we spoke, you know, we tiptoed into a discussion, and then we came out about, again, the NCC and their role in something like this in a pandemic year, and how they could have been, should have been. I mean, I know they said they would do a virtual something. We still don't know what that will entail. They said they will do it from the 12th to the 16th or something to that effect. Again, very late in the season. But again, to Duane's point, Carnival is not just 7 days of activity. It's a whole 2 months with different cultural elements. And the NCC's role is to, in my estimation, to package that, to bring that together. How are we bringing in the calypso and the stick fighting and the canboulay, reenactment that they do every year? How are we bringing in the pan? How are we bringing in the soca? How are we bringing these elements? How are we bringing these stakeholders together? And how can we present it? I think they should have taken on that role this year to make sure that the carnival lives, because you are the Carnival Commission. And even when he was talking about the kings and queens, like I was like, yeah, imagine these creatives taking this virtual digital pandemic and, infusing that into their creations this year, the kind of thing we could have seen. And not only that, but even if we do digital, like there's so many opportunities and we are not lacking creativity. So imagine
planning.
Imagine, and that's what he said, taking the time to reflect, but also to plan. And I mean, we lack that, but we don't lack creativity. And if we give a platform, if we make that space, what would come out could surpass, even our own expectations. But like he said, we're working on it step by step. Hopefully they are taking the time, the NCC and others and other stakeholders and stakeholders organizations to do that reflection. Because even in Panorama, I mean, I see they are trying to do something different or something, whatever. We could have reduced the band count. So you might not have, and I think, did we talk about this? Because this feels like deja vu. Reduce the
I don't know if you and I spoke about it offline, but it's something that crossed my mind too. And like, how could they have staged?
Yeah, if you have 50 in a large band or in a reduce the numbers or socially distance, or listen, this is your because I mean we reopening schools and we're doing other things. We have more than 50 people coming. Like what could we do?
Challenge them to put together their band virtually. Challenge them. That is going to take a level of skill in itself, like to make sure that everybody's synchronized over their web browser and you have a smaller stage side group and prove to us, we want to see the video to prove that you're all in the same, I don't know, something, but that's just blue sky. But they are the ones that have to sit and have these conversations and not be so reactive and not be so
be like,
I feel like I wonder if it's complacency too. I wonder.
It's like, this is how we typically do it. We can't do it like that, so we ain't going to do it at all. It's not to say, oh, well, how could we do it differently? Like I said, instead of having a 50 and 100, it could just be 10, or like I said, a stage side or a reduce, and again, observing the protocols, because people are going out to work. And for some people, this is work. You understand? And this is how they earn a living or earn a little extra to make sure that they could live. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We need to be, like he said, finding those creative, innovative, and different strategies and bringing that to the fore. And again, decision makers, you may not have all the answers, right? Not on your own understanding and opening the door to other ideas.
Have a little focus group.
All that.
Now is your time for your R&D. It's part of the process, guys.
Yeah, but I like this where we get viewer and listener comments. We should probably try to incorporate it every season, and or maybe in the next episode we can take maybe two more and put that in there. But this is us signing off after a long episode, but we love to hear from you. So continue to send us. You can send us your comments, reply to us on any of our social media pages at SOAPBOX Caribbean. At SOAPBOX CBEAN.
I need it in front of me and I don't have it.
I'm tired and I'm hungry. I have not eaten. Anyway, so this is it here at SOAPBOX Caribbean. You can see it at the bottom of your screen. And yeah, so send us. You can send a video. You can send audio. You can write it if you feel like it. But thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, almost at the end of season 2. See you later.
Bye.